Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand?
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. So they say that democracy dies in darkness. Actually, democracy dies with a short, middle-aged white lady with a Karen haircut named Michelle Grisham, who is the governor of New Mexico, who deserves to be impeached and potentially to be thrown into Guantanamo Bay for what she's just done to our American Constitution. This is tyranny. It's not at our doorsteps. It's actually here. Due to a health emergency, she has just declared that there is no such thing as the Second Amendment. She said that no rights are absolute, and this is a trial balloon. That's why we're going to hit this really, really hard. I'm a big-time defender of the Second Amendment, and this is plainly evil. Trust me, what they're doing in New Mexico, they are going to try and bring to your city and every city in America. New Mexico governor orders the suspension of the Second Amendment due to an emergency, and it gets more absolutely insane. The governor of New Mexico, in a press conference, declared that the First and Second Amendments do not exist due to an emergency. Under this legal theory, we have no rights in this country. We have no country. We simply have a group of tyrants that allow for us to have privileges. Watch the most evil and tyrannical 60 seconds you have ever heard from any politicians. Hard to even fathom that this is real. Elon Musk responded too. I'll get to that in a second.
But your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency.
With one exception. First off, shut up, lady. Like, no, your rights have no exceptions. What about the constitutional amendments guaranteeing the right to vote for women? What about constitutional amendments saying that there should be no more slavery? Are you going to do that? Are you going to bring back emergencies? We don't get our, we are going to stop the ability for women to vote based on an emergency. This is your legal theory. That would be plainly evil. All of this is plainly evil. But your legal theory essentially allows for that, allows for segregation. Again, like allows for the Third Amendment. How the Third Amendment allows for the government to put soldiers inside of your home to sleep in your bed. This is what the lady is saying. All of that is allowed because somebody had an emergency.
And I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time. I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So the guy asked, like, wait a second, you swore to uphold the Constitution. Aren't you violating your oath in office? And the answer is yes. And she needs to be impeached and maybe imprisoned immediately for doing so. Sic semper tyrannis. And she's saying there, well, it's not absolute. Well, then what the hell did you uphold? If it's not absolute, why do you even swear on a constitution? Again, ladies and gentlemen, you either have rights or you have privileges that the government can take away. And if you go through the actual Constitution itself and what is enumerated inside of that document, it is quite evident that you don't want these things to be taken away. You will not live inside of America. You no longer live inside of America if these things can be taken away. They are no longer rights.
Restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on.
What are the restrictions on free speech? What are you talking about? The Biden regime just lost in the Fifth Circuit. I'll get there in a second. Just lost in the Fifth Circuit saying that they violated the First Amendment by limiting free speech. So, lady, what the hell are you talking about? What are they smoking in New Mexico?
Freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subjugated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Well, wait a minute. Okay. You're saying about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it. But again, if I'm unsafe Who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of
There's no
control,
constitutional amendment guaranteeing safety.
somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Madam Governor,
Yep.
do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
Great question.
No.
Thankfully, we don't have smart tyrants. Thankfully, all tyrants, look at that. Look at that witch. Look at that lady. And shame upon those two, whoever those two flunkies are that are standing next to her. Those men should hang their heads in shame for the rest of their lives. Will criminals follow this order? No. Okay, so then what is it about? Oh, it's because we hate the Second Amendment. And this is a trial balloon to try and take away the Second Amendment across the country by declaring an emergency. Elon Musk responded to my tweet, at the risk of stating what should be obvious, deliberately violating the Constitution is next level illegal. How soon can this person be removed from office? They should recall her. This is absolutely insane. And so on and so forth. Go the comments. Recall this moron. Evil, power-hungry tyrants like this is what our founders called, why our founders called our rights unalienable. Rights are so intrinsic to humanity, they cannot be alienated from us, even in an emergency. She needs to be removed from office. Unfortunately, the New Mexico governor cannot be recalled. Sic semper tyrannis. Sean Davis saying our founders understood how to deal with tyrants like this, and various members of the New Mexico State House, including this man, Rep. John Block, is saying, hey, impeach and remove Governor Grisham. We even have Elon behind us. Well done. So there is now a call for the impeachment of the governor. The governor of New Mexico is using a public health order to suspend rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. Yes, a public health order. Did you think the left was going to stop at forcing you to wear a mask? And a lot of people are saying, effectively, this is the slippery slope. This is a trial balloon for more 2A suspensions. We knew it was coming. COVID showed how easy it was. Climate emergency is on deck. So they'll declare a climate emergency, and then they'll go through and they'll take all your property. Expect that next. You can't make this stuff up. The governor says she doesn't expect criminals to follow the order. So then what is it about? It's about you. It's about your right to carry a firearm. It's about your legal right to carry a firearm. So this is intended to punish the people who are following the law, which is why this statement from the sheriff there in New Mexico is such a pithy, despicable statement. You'll remember some of the COVID criminals and their accomplices, the law enforcement agents that locked various people inside of their houses, right? The oath breakers who broke their oaths to infringe on people's constitutional rights. Now you have a sheriff here mewling and and crying and is essentially issuing a non-statement on this. In conclusion, while we may not be in complete alignment with the governor's recent order, we remain steadfast in our commitment to work collaboratively. So effectively what they're going to do is it's going to be the just following orders thing again. Oh, just following orders, just following orders. This is what you're going to get. So expect this. This is going to turn into now a constitutional issue. This is a soft power turning into hard power issue. They have just eliminated the Second Amendment. Do you think they're going to stop in New Mexico? Are you kidding me? If this works, then they'll do this in every state around America. They'll sue to do it in every single state around America, and then they'll do emergencies for the rest of our lives. Climate emergencies, diversity emergencies, hate speech emergencies, and you will live inside of the pod, and you will eat the bugs, and then you will have to like it. Yeah, not me. So it's time to fight all of this. I will play you the full exchange that has gone insanely viral on my X account of the governor trying to explain this. Get ready for your head to explode.
Yes, all the examples you cited are crimes. Kids shooting at other kids, shooting from cars. So what's the value of the civil order? Why not just do better law enforcement?
Both. The value of the order is that it gives me three things. One, it says it's a statewide issue and it's a message to everyone to start leveraging their resources and arresting people. Two, The jurisdictions come at this, including with the DOJ restrictions, differently, without the leveraging and the additional resources, arresting, and where do they go? We got to make sure that everyone is bumping up their services. It's a message to the Metropolitan Detention Center. It's a message to the HMOs. You better figure out treatment. We have been sort of stalled out, to your point. This order basically says, stop stalling out, and to your point, just arrest everyone. Well, I also have to have the ability, I can't arrest everyone. There are literally too many people to arrest.
Well,
this would allow us,
If someone's got a concealed carry permit in Albuquerque walking down a public street, they're not going to get arrested.
I can make the point that maybe they should be. And this is the point. I'm willing to do anything and everything within a shred of evidence-based effort. Because if you're not horrified that on any street corner in too many cities in New Mexico, there is someone with a gun sticking out of their waist or their belt. And I'll tell you, if you're a young person, you're not allowed to have a handgun.
Well, it's a crime already.
I got it, but we won't be able to arrest all of them. So imagine, just in a perfect world, if this was upheld, it gives all of these police officers the ability to focus on the real criminals.
Last follow-up.
Yeah.
But
your point is valid.
You took an oath to the Constitution. Isn't it unconstitutional to say you cannot exercise your carry license?
With one exception, and that is if there's an emergency, and I've declared an emergency for a temporary amount of time, I can invoke additional powers. No constitutional right, in my view, including my oath, is intended to be absolute. There are restrictions on free speech. There are restrictions on my freedoms. In this emergency, this 11-year-old and all these parents who have lost all these children, they deserve my attention to have the debate about whether or not in an emergency we can create a safer environment. Because what about their constitutional rights? I took an oath to uphold those too. And if we ignore this growing problem without being bold, I've said to every other New Mexican, your rights are subrogated to theirs. And they are not, in my view.
Wait a minute. Okay. You're talking about crimes. There are already laws against the crimes, so how are their rights?
I got it. But again, if I'm unsafe, who's standing up for that right? If this climate is so out of control, somebody should do something. I'm doing as much as I know to do.
Madam Governor, do you really think that criminals are going to hear this message and not carry a gun in Albuquerque on the streets for 30 days?
No. But here's what I do think. It's a pretty resounding message